What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
And I'm Ant.
And you did that word for word. Word for word, sir. Absolutely word for people don't have a clue what I'm talking about.
Exactly. I was going to say, no one knows what you're talking about.
As I'm doing my intro, Anthony is sitting to my right, word for word, with the mic muted, saying what I'm saying, trying to make me laugh, sir.
Was I? Was I, James?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. You know what you were doing.
I do it before the start of every episode. The fact you just turned and looked at that time and actually saw. I've been doing it for every episode I've been on, and you've only just turned and noticed it.
Well, this is fair. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, it's mainly because just the thought of looking at you. But
That's true, yeah.
today was different because I was looking at James, and then I realised I just didn't want to look at James anymore. So I turned and faced you.
Well, that's nice, isn't it?
It's just, you don't want to look at me, and then you turn to Ant, who's openly mocking you.
Yes.
What if he turns, if he did the podcast the other way, he could turn and look at all his marvellous collection here, right? And wouldn't have to look at either of us, right?
Well, I mean, that is very... No, because if I'm sat where James is sat...
Then I'd be sat in front of the game.
Then he'd be sat in front of the games, and he would taint my view of my games.
Oh.
I would then have to sell the entire collection.
Taint his view of his games. How do you say that?
I'm thinking of several responses, and all that's going through my head is family friendly.
Family friendly.
Yeah.
You, sir?
Yes.
Yes.
The beauty of editing. Beep, beep.
The listeners will never know what I just said.
Click to our Patreon and find out the uncut version.
Haven't got that far yet. We don't do Patreon. No, we don't do that rubbish.
No, we don't do that.
No, we don't need it. So, yeah, how have you been this week, guys?
Well, I was fine until that intro.
Then I would
I'm
say
good.
I've succeeded. Anthony?
I'm good, mate.
Yeah, good.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
Good week at work?
No.
No? Oh, excellent. James, how's your week at work been?
Yeah, it's been all right.
Yeah, I know your house has been pretty empty this week.
It has.
Other than when I intruded upon it on Tuesday.
Indeed. But, you
that
know,
was good fun.
we were watching WrestleMania, so it's all
We
good.
were. We don't watch much wrestling nowadays, but WrestleMania, we make a...
You have to make an effort for me.
You have to make an effort for Mania.
It's our Super Bowl, really, isn't it?
It kind of is, yeah. Yeah. It's not a real sport.
Well, they are trying to get away from the whole sports entertainment thing now, aren't they?
They are, yeah. But, I mean, yeah. They probably should because it's sports entertainment, yeah, but it's not sport.
Not yet.
So,
It's entertainment.
it's entertainment. But
No, James, it's real.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
hang on, there's
That's a different subject for probably a different podcast.
I was going to say we have quite a few American listeners, and
Yeah.
a lot of Americans still don't understand how not real it is. You know, we're not insulting the sport. Or anything.
American
As I
fans,
said,
I'm
we
with
like
you, so don't listen to him.
it, you know. But yeah, that's wrestling. That's TV talk, not table
Not board
talk.
game talk.
No, and I'm pretty sure I'm only about 80% sure, but I'm pretty sure we are a tabletop gaming podcast, right? So,
Only 80?
well, you know.
You really do need to swap places with James.
It's 20% of you going, what is this stuff on this shelf?
I can't see it because my back's to it.
Exactly. Right now, well, like I said, I'm looking at James. So, how my life has sunk. I'm doing this just for a record because you guys are always calling me some kind of dictator and how much of an awful boss I am. I'm just leveling the playing field here of telling people what I have to put up with. So, I think that's fair, right?
Oh, I weep for him, James.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Run me a river.
Oh, see, now we're going to get a copyright.
Now you're going to get a
strike.
copyright now. Cut it out. Fine.
Shall we talk about some games?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent, because we're doing that podcast where we talk about
All things tabletop gaming, right?
all things tabletop gaming, yeah. But no, it's sort of like the month of, I think at this point it's kind of half March, half April, because we're recording this about halfway through April.
Lousy smarch.
Smudge.
Anyone who watches The Simpsons knows what I'm talking about.
So yeah, we could talk about the games that we played last year, and there was 3 of them again.
3.
3 of them, and one of them I think is actually quite ironic that's come out today because, well, we'll talk about it when we get to it because there's some big news this year with regards to around that. So let's start off with Kabuto Sumo.
Oh.
So I think we've all played this, I believe.
Yeah, I used to own it. Yeah.
Obviously, myself and James talked about this last year. James, a year on from Kabuto Sumo, what do you think of it? Have we played it since? Do you want to play it again?
Yeah, I mean, it was an okay game.
Yeah.
We haven't played it since, mainly because you sold it.
No, I still have it.
You still have it?
I still have it.
Where is it? It's not on the shelf.
It's in the bag over there on the floor.
Is it waiting to be sold?
It's not actually because my son really likes it.
Okay.
So that one has survived the cold.
It has survived the cold. Yeah, we haven't played it since. I can't say I'm eager to play it again. It's a dexterity game, so I naturally am not very good at it.
See, don't you think, though, being the fact that it is WrestleMania season, we should at least play some form of wrestling game?
Yeah, I mean, it has that. It has the entertainment value of being a wrestling fan. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of WWE references here, despite the fact that it's a sumo wrestling game.
Yes.
Totally different.
Yep.
But yeah. So, and your thoughts on Kabuto Sumo? You obviously weren't here last year.
No, but I did own the game as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I really like it. My kids still love it. I think just I sold it because it was getting to the table, but I used to have like a couple of other expansions for it as well, and they just weren't like getting to it as much. For the game it is, only being up to 4 players, it would be nice to have probably more players added to it as well.
Yeah.
But no, I like it. I think it got it was on Kickstarter again, or was on Game Town again. They've done a reprint or something
for it. Yeah, a reprint and an expansion for it recently. Which, before I talk about that, I will obviously just say I still enjoy the game. I do still own it. I did consider putting it in the coal. However, when I played it with my son, he really enjoyed playing it.
Yeah,
so it's survived as one of the games in the house, but it's come out of my collection and more so into my son's collection.
Yeah.
For the time being. And I did see the expansion and stuff when it went up, and I thought about it because there's a few extra bits in it. I was like, you know what? I don't think it's enough to put it back in my collection.
Yeah.
Let alone justify spending more money on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do I still recommend the game? I think I do because it is a good, fun game.
Yeah, quick and short, easy game to play.
Bit of a pain in the arse to set up, I will be honest.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's not too bad. Quick and painless. I definitely recommend it if you can pick it up cheap enough. But James, a year on, would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun little game. I don't think it's one that would stick around for most people, though. It's kind of one of those games of, oh, yeah, that was cool. Moving on.
I could see it doing the for sale round quite a bit. So he's like, you play it, you sell it to someone else. Yeah. They then play it and sell it on to someone else.
I think that's what happened, what James pretty much said. I think we got hold of another dexterity game and that sort of took it at the end of the day. So another reason why we got rid of it as well.
Yeah, so, fair enough. So would you recommend it, though, if you could get it cheap enough?
I still recommend it for people with young kids and stuff. Totally. But yeah. And would still play as well. If someone said, let's have a quick game, let's have a quick game.
Yeah, never know. I might break it out at some point, but we'll see. So that was Kabuto Sumo, which I believe was originally released by Board Game Tables, now known as All Play.
I believe Becca Scott had something to do with it as well. Like she designed it or something as well.
There's
something about it. I remember a while back they'd done a video on it or something.
Yeah, more than likely. I don't know. I'm not sure, but there you go. Kabuto Sumo. The second game that we talked about this time last year was The Reign of Cthulhu, which is the pandemic system game.
Wow, was that a year already?
That was a year.
Damn.
Yeah. In fact, it was just over a year because that was one of the first ones in that month period that we did. Do you remember much of it, James?
I remember enough about it.
Yeah, because it's the one of only a couple of pandemic games you've played, because you've not played original pandemic.
No, I haven't. I skipped over the gateway of gateway games.
Indeed. Thoughts and memories of that game?
I remember it being difficult until you kind of got used to it, and then it was a walk in the park.
Yeah, much like the normal pandemic, to be honest. But Ant, have you ever played it? I can't.
Yeah, we played it here.
Oh, you did play it?
We did play it here,
yeah. Okay.
What a tough son of a gun that was, really.
Yeah.
I'm not personally a fan of Pandemic as much. I mean, it's okay. But because it had the Cthulhu theme to it, I was like, I need to give this a go. And we did, and I think we died in like so many turns. Didn't you put it on like a harder mode? Yeah, that'd be why then. So yeah. But no, it was good fun.
It's mainly because I found the game didn't scale particularly well. Like it sort of had easy, medium, hard, and an expo or whatever it was, and I just found that it was easy, impossible.
Mm.
So, if I'm going to play a game like that, I'd rather have a challenge. So it's like, it has to be the impossible level. I still quite like the miniatures and stuff that were in it.
They're not bad for
Yeah.
price
Especially the cost of the game. Yeah, because I think it was a bit more than normal Pandemic, but not too
You had
much
like the
more.
little wizard guys. You had all the creatures and stuff as well.
Yeah,
That
the
was pretty good.
cultists
Cultists, that's
and-
it. Yeah, as well.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. It is a game that was sold, so it didn't
Yes.
survive. In fact, that went in wave 1 of my cull. So that's a bit of a shame. But what was the reason? One, I don't think we'd played it since we did the episode.
No.
And also, I've got the original Pandemic with expansions, and even that hasn't been touched. So
I think that needs to go in the next next sale.
it's
next wave, mate.
definitely it's on the edge of wave 3. So
I mean,
on
is
that
there
tip of the cusp.
Is there a reason, or I'm curious to know what the reason is that it's survived that long, considering the amount of time we've been doing this, we've never played it.
yes, the main reason is because it is the gateway game of gateway games. So I've always kept it thinking, one day there's going to be that person I need to introduce to the hobby, and why I don't know. Because I've got plenty of other games that I can use.
I was going to say,
so.
the amount of games we've spoken about on this podcast where we've got, this would be a brilliant gateway game, perfect introduction to the hobby. It's like, I've often looked at your shelf and gone, out of all the games you're selling, why is that there? We've never even looked at it.
Yeah. It's still sealed. I mean, the box itself isn't, but the stuff inside is still sealed. So that will likely go on the next cull, I think.
Needs to go.
So, yeah, anyway, back to the normal Reign of Cthulhu game that we were talking about. James, would you recommend playing it this year on or not?
It's one of those where I think my recommendation would be, if you enjoy the Pandemic system, or if you're a fan of the Lovecraftian horror, then, give it a go. I'm not sure it's got anything for the casual player.
No, I don't think so. Anthony, what about you?
Just pretty much mirroring what James said, unless you want to try the 3 different modes of it, be a fan of the Cthulhu side of it. I only played it once with you guys, because I believe that day we were playing like 3 different games. So I personally would like to give it another crack, but I don't think I'd ever own it. Like I'd play someone else's copy or something.
Yep, that's fair enough. There you go. I'm in the same ballpark. I don't regret selling it. I'm amazed it lasted as long as it did. But Reign of Cthulhu. There you go. And then the final one, which I think is the irony that we talked about it a year ago, because I'll let Anthony explain why it's relevant at the moment. But the third and final game that we played this time last year was Fallout Shelter, which was actually one of your games, Anne.
Wow.
I cannot
been a
believe
year
that.
already.
That's been a year.
It's been a year. It's been a year. So,
Wow.
Anthony, there are multiple reasons why it's relevant. Obviously, one, you are now part of the Meeple Minded podcast,
Whee!
and it's your game. It's a full year on since you came on that episode, but also I believe there's another reason that it's valid at the moment. That
Well, as of time of recording, and how weird this is the case as well.
Yep.
This is not planned or anything, by the way, when we say this, guys. But
No.
as of today, it was really the Amazon Prime released the TV series of Fallout.
Yes.
And how weird is that?
Yeah. Exactly a year on.
Euro today.
Yeah.
Wow.
And at the time of the recording, it's been exactly a year to the week
Oh wow!
that we
So it
actually
has.
recorded that episode.
How freaky is that, right? Come on, that can't be a coincidence.
So yeah, it literally only just made it into this one because obviously
Wow.
we're recording the same week that we recorded that episode last year. But either way, it made it in. Fallout Shelter. James, thoughts, memories?
I remember you guys talking about that and me being, I don't know anything about Fallout. I think I'm going to be a bit meh about this game, and I actually really enjoyed it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't know Fallout. I've never played it. I don't know any of the sort of backstory behind it, and I still don't.
Yeah.
I'm going to admit that I will be watching the new series.
Okay.
Because I think it'll be pretty good.
Might make you want to play it again, though.
It might make me want to play it again. Have you still got it? That's
I do still have it. yeah.
fantastic.
I do still have it.
That's good. So we can get that to the table soon. But yeah, I think it was a really, really fun game. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it just purely because I didn't know the game.
I think it's. I had that initial. I had a two-step thing. It's like, one, I knew nothing about Fallout. Two, it's based on an IP, so is it
Another
gonna be,
red flag?
Is
Isn't
it going to be
Yeah.
a bit meh because you're capitalizing or you're basically relying on the IP to draw people in, and
Yes.
the game's going to be
A bit meh.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
No. It definitely had some surprises. I remember certain games we played of it were utterly brutal and ruthless,
Yeah.
whereas other games seemed like a bit of a walk in the park.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a degree of fluctuation there as to how challenging the game will be.
Absolutely. It's different every time, isn't it?
Yeah, which I quite like because, I don't really like, even if I'm playing a game on a certain difficulty, I don't expect it to be that exact same game every single time I play it. So that was nice to have that sort of fluctuation in it as well. I like the challenge aspect of it, obviously, because it's all v in that one as well, which is great fun. I like, going onto someone else's space and
paying them a resource to go on it.
Paying them a resource, but stopping them from going on it more to the point.
I remember the particular game where I got like the power generator and the water, and it's like, oh, you guys want
two to go,
yeah. You guys want like life support? Yeah, pay up.
Yeah. But do you remember when the game room card came out and Jason was on a mission to build a game room? Let's not forget our food, water, electricity supplies. Let's have a game room in the shelter.
And then there's me building my nuclear reactor next to the water treatment plant, because that's not going to go wrong at all, is it?
And there's me just building a Nuka-Cola.
Yeah.
Good news, everyone. Mutations all around.
That's it, yeah.
But just think, if you're all mutated and you've grown extra arms, just think how many extra board game pieces you can move in the game room.
Yep.
There we go. You'll be handy on a dexterity game.
Exactly. So there we go. Between us, we have actually managed to create the amazing nuclear fallout shelter. I succeeded in creating one room, but it has a game table.
It has a game table in it. And obviously, James will sort us out with water and electricity. Thank you, James.
Yeah, with a side dose of radiation. But just ignore it. It's warm and tingly. Just ignore it.
I'm pretty sure if James had extra time, there'd be a nice nuclear-powered swimming pool on the other side as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Everything.
I wouldn't say no to that.
Everything's better when it's nuclear.
Exactly. I mean, from what I've gathered from comics in the past, if I could just jump into some nuclear-fueled water, I should come out with superpowers. So, there we go. And
it's a win-win, mate. Come on.
What's your thoughts on Fallout Shelter?
I love it. It's still one of my favorite worker placements of all time. We did an episode last year on my podcast about the top 5 worker placements, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's on there. It's still on there. I still own it. I still love it. I haven't played it since last year, but we've been playing a hell of a lot since. So
yeah, we've mentioned it now. I think we need to get that to the table again soon.
Yeah, I would like to play that again soon.
Yeah.
So. I think obviously spurred on with the new series and stuff, that's another good reason to get that to the table. So, Fallout Shelter. Can't believe the coincidence, really. A whole full year after.
Do you think Amazon were watching us and be like, in a year?
That's what it is, yeah. What people don't know is we're actually powered by Jeff Bezos.
Where's my pay rise, Jeff?
Telepathically saying he's going to kill you now.
Oh, I didn't mean it, I swear.
Oh, dear. So there we go. They're the games that we played last year. James, first question on those. Are any of those that stick out to you as games you really want to play? I mean, obviously,
I think we've answered that question, really. It's like, we need to get Fallout Shelter back to the table.
Yeah.
I think all of them, to be honest. I mean, I'd like to play Reign of Cthulhu again and Kabuto Sumo.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing I love about having a wide variety of games is, I'll be completely honest, I've not even thought about Fallout Shelter, but we're talking about it, and immediately the memories of that game have just gone.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and to remember it so specifically as well.
Yeah, and now I'm like, I want to play that again.
Yeah. So I think that's probably
I'm glad the gamble paid off, because again, like you said, you guys know nothing about it, but you still had fun with it. So it goes to show how good that game is, really.
Yeah, and I think it also goes to show that really you should always give a game a go, no matter what.
Yep.
This guy,
is.
did you hear that?
Oh, he's surprisingly. He is the champion of always try it once.
Does that mean he'll play Dune Imperium this year, folks? Comment below, vote for it, and let us know.
See, he says this thinking that I haven't already played it. He doesn't know if I've played it or not.
He hasn't played it. There's no way he's played it. Come on.
There will only be one way of knowing, and that is to check my BG Stats app.
I think you should play it again. Play it with me. Play it at better time.
But there we go. They're the games we played last year. Should we talk about some games that we played a little bit more recently than last year? Yeah? Cool. So let's talk about some games that we played this month. And more importantly, the ones that really stood out to us that we want to talk about. I will go first because I'm actually going to talk about a game that I know neither of you have played. And that is because I play tested a new game about 3 weeks ago, and it's called Whiz and Bang. Now, this is a new game that is coming to crowdfunding some point this year. There's no current date.
Okay.
But it's from the team Custard Kraken guys. They're actually based down in Brighton. And I got to be introduced to the game by one of the designers. And it's pretty much there. There's a few tweaks that need to be made. Like there was a couple of questionable bits of artwork on the card, which unfortunately we had to point out that looked a little bit like an adult pleasurable toy.
Oh dear.
Which wasn't very thematic for what it was trying to portray. But with the way it looked, that we just let them know they're going to change that. But so basically what the game is a very simple, quick game where you're building a wizard's tower, and on your turn you pick one tower section from an open display, and you add it to your tower. You want to get your tower to be 7 cards tall, and then you need to get your wizard from the base of the tower all the way to the top, and then survive till the start of your next round in order to win. That's the aim of the game.
Okay.
But obviously there is an element of take that to it. Because if I've got to survive to the next game, that automatically tells you that you guys can attack me, which is exactly what you can do.
Okay.
And you can do that with different forms. There's a few actions that you can perform, that like magical actions that might weaken my defenses or boost your own attack values on the weapons that you're putting on your tower. And then the final phase of your turn is firing all your weapons that are on your tower. And you can aim them wherever you so wish. And it's usually a case of whoever's got the tallest tower is going to be the one that's going to take the hits from the other players.
It's a dexterity game then.
It's not a dexterity game. All done on standard size playing cards. They're just pieces of a tower.
Right.
So it will tell you on the tower, it'll be like, oh, this one's a cannon, and it does 3 damage to whatever.
Right.
And then each section also has a life bar of 5. So obviously, if I'm doing 3 damage to a cannon, I've done over half of the damage required to destroy another tower section. But then there's tower sections that block damage from other tower sections. So I could have like a cannon with a shield above it, and then maybe another cannon, and that shield takes damage away from the 2 cannons, so my cannons are going to last longer.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So there's a little bit of strategy.
But you said about the biggest tower, so is that sort of a disadvantage for the other player then, if that tower's much bigger than theirs?
There's no disadvantage to someone else's tower being taller, other than the fact it means they're closer to achieving a victory condition, which is tower has to be 7 tall, and then you get your wizard up to the top.
Right.
As soon as you get your wizard up to the top on a 7 stack tower, it triggers the end of the game, and say it's me that's done it, you've got until it gets back to me to basically destroy one of my tower sections or knock my wizard from the top. If you manage to do either of them, game carries on. And it just keeps going until someone achieves that victory condition. But because of the attack value side of it, it was really fun because it kept the game even. Like I said, it's like, oh, I've put a tower piece in, or somehow I've managed to put 2 tower pieces in this round. Well, hang on a minute, now my tower's the tallest. So guess what? On James's next turn, he's probably going to aim his fire at me to try and bring my tower back down to the same as him. And so on and so forth. So everyone is going up at a steady rate. And yeah, the real strategy comes from, well, I kind of want more weapons on my tower. However, is there really much point in me keep building my tower if I've got no defense?
Right.
So I'm going to take that defense card instead. At which point I'm now down on weapons. Everyone else has now got a stronger tower than me. Well, next time I'm definitely going to have to get a weapon.
So how many players can this be?
I believe it goes up to 6.
Wow.
We only played it with 4. But it was great fun. We played probably 3 or 4 games in a row. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it. And they were only 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
It sounds like it's quite a good game.
It's a very, very quick game. It's definitely a filler game. It's not like this is a main event or anything. But like I think of our game nights, for example, I would crack that out at the start of the night.
Yeah, it sounds like fun,
get the night going. And I just really, really thought it was great. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes in the future.
Right.
But yeah, for now, it's very fun. I'm not sure if it's at Expo. I don't believe it is this year.
Well, not even demoing or
I
anything.
don't believe it's their
That's
demoing,
fine.
no. But this is definitely a game to keep an eye on.
Keep an eye. Well, if you keep an eye on it for us, then you can.
Yeah, I mean, I was chatting with them about potentially getting a prototype copy at some point to introduce you guys to it and maybe do a little bit of content creation for them as well.
That was good.
Awesome.
Maybe even get an interview.
Nice.
There we go.
Excellent.
That is Whiz Bang.
Sounds like a fizz drink.
It does, doesn't it? Either that or something out of Willy Wonka, you know?
No, it sounds like BFG. Do you ever remember that?
Yeah.
Whiz bang, whiz bang.
Bang. The original BFG.
So, yeah.
It was,
Yes,
David
the
Jason.
cartoon. The cartoon.
Yeah, awesome. James, games you played this month, any that stood out to you?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
So it's one that we played very recently, and that is The White Castle.
Ooh.
Okay, so this is an interesting because this is another one of Ant's games.
Yep.
Which you've had to house rule already.
Yep.
Much against my chagrin because you know how I feel about house ruling. But
come on.
I will let you explain.
You must agree, though, that in this case, it was necessary.
The judge isn't quite out on that one yet, but we'll see.
Basically, we added 2 rounds to it, was our house rule, because the general consensus we came to was that it's far too short, and that's its only problem, because other than that, it's a really fun game.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think, like, because again, when you say the White Castle, I am that typical guy who's like, we're talking about burgers, right?
I thought exactly the same thing when it was first introduced. I was like, is this like a fast food themed game?
I mean, I think it would work. It would work with the re-theme.
It would work.
So, do you want to explain the game?
Not really.
No? What is it?
Why don't you do it?
No, well, no, because it's not my game. What is the game? What's the theme of
It's
it?
a Japanese themed game that is basically a worker placement used with dice. The game is essentially done in 3 rounds. Each player has 3 turns. So every player, all in all, throughout the whole game, only has 9 turns to place dice on certain places to earn more points or end-game victory points. Very heavily medieval Japan themed, placing gardeners, soldiers, courtesans. Collecting money, daimyos, resources to just basically rack up victory points. We played this a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? And we just did the 3 rounds. And I think your utter shock was like, what? That was it?
Yeah.
At the time, wasn't it? And you're like, no, I want to do more. And it's like, no, that's it. That is it.
It's more the fact that they give you like the actual score tracker on the board goes up to 4. Is it 40?
Yeah.
Yes, and then you get your token for 40 plus, don't you?
Yeah, but it's got an 80 plus on the other side. It's like, I'm sorry, you cannot get up that high
chance.
in the amount of time they've given you.
I mean, there's obviously someone has managed to do it, otherwise they wouldn't have done it.
But I do believe there are other modes to it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's
that
probably
might be
what
the
it
other
is.
reason why. Like you might get double victory points or something. But we just played the normal base rule of it, haven't we? So, but no, I'm surprised you picked that. It's a good pick.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that game, and I'm looking forward to when we inevitably do a full episode on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any particular things that stood out to you about the game?
I mean, it's a worker placement game, so
we do like a worker.
We do like a worker placement game here at the Meeple Minded, so that's a winner straight away. I just thought the way it worked was just really fun. It's just like, there's so much I can do with this board.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was it, because it's just that conundrum of, I want to do this on this turn, but now I've only got 1 turn left, and like, wait, what? It's also, just, why did this go so quick?
Yeah, it is a worker placement game, but it's got elements of other mechanics. Like, there's a little bit of engine building with the lantern.
Yeah.
The lantern card.
Oh, yes, that's
you're
right,
putting down. It's sort of like, every time you put it down, you get an extra thing that you can collect on your lantern action. So you got a mini engine.
Yeah.
That
was the plan I went for last night when we played it, wasn't it? It was build my little engine going on down there, and it's like I was behind the majority of that game.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't move up at all on the reputation track. You know, I was...
You were last
I was last, yeah, because obviously it's a turn order changing thing. I was last in every single one. And yeah, I somehow managed to win. I didn't think I was going to, but you know, again, you don't know till the end. Really.
But I like the fact that that's a very gambly strategy in this, because icons you're getting to build that engine are on the backs of those cards.
Yeah. So you can't actually know what you're going to get.
Yeah. When you flip it over and add it, it's like, you know what the front side is, but the back side, which is the bit you actually kind of want for that function, you won't know until you claim that card what it is. So it's almost a blind draw engine builder.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much to that game that I think warrants its own episode. So I think we go too far if we talk about it. But it's a fantastic game. Highly recommended from Essen last year. So
nice.
Quite hard to get hold of still, I believe. So
yes.
yeah.
What about you, Ant? Any standout games for you this month?
I've got 2.
Okay.
Obviously, we played Ice for the first time.
We did, yeah. That was on my my.
Was it on yours, Break Pardon? Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So this was all of our first time playing it. I had not played it at all. I was just I had the game for like a month trying to learn the thing.
Yeah.
And then we got to play it, and it's quite extraordinary for the board itself and the type of game it is. I mean, is it worker placement? Is it... I mean, what would you class it as?
I'm not sure.
It's odd, isn't it?
I'm not sure where I stand. It has got worker placement elements to it, but it's not really. It's also kind of dudes on a map.
Yeah. And
it's also an exploration. There's so many different mechanisms that you could put it in, but it's only falls in that category a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like part of that and part something. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I think that's how it stands out. The board itself is what makes the game, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah.
And the other different mechanics from, using the abilities of your artifacts that you find or selling them off to get victory points. It's like, what do you do? There is a strategy to it somehow. But what a fantastic game. It was a lot of hype over it, and I was kind of worried that it would be a bit too much for like a first time play thing. And we did muck up a couple times things, but now we know for next time.
Yeah.
I'd quite like to get back to that at some point and have another proper go at it.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely be up for playing that again, because as I said, that was one of the games I put on my list of games that stood out to me.
What stood out for you on that?
I mean, obviously, it goes without saying the production quality of that game is exceptional. Was it like 6-layer board or whatever it is?
Yeah, 5 layers.
The real question that I would have with regards to that is the test of time. Is that going to make it warp? Because obviously, the more layer boards you have, the more likely they are to warp. But maybe that's just so thick that it's not going to warp. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that really cool aspect, isn't it? Of like, instead of, I'm discovering things, but instead of going round a map, I'm able to dig into the board.
Yeah.
And try and find stuff underneath. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I like the idea of that. And you sort of think, it's called Ice. Obviously, it's based on like polar ice caps or whatever.
Yeah.
But really, does it need to be ice? No, of course it doesn't. It could easily be, dirt farm. Where you're digging through dirt.
Yeah.
And you find Roman remains or... maybe it could be rethemed to a dinosaur theme.
I can see that definitely happening with other games, taking this idea and be like, let's dig for dinosaur bones or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything you dig for, you could make a mining game out of it. Are you
absolutely.
Are you digging for oil? Are you digging for iron? Are you digging for coal?
But ultimately, I don't know of any other game like it. So for me, it's a first.
Yeah, it is that whole. You've got the board and you're chipping into the board, basically. It's unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, it's definitely a unique one. And it's definitely one that I can see people like looking over the table like, what you playing sort of thing.
Yeah,
Its presence on it is fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And adding in that sort of extra little bit as well, with like the polar bear or wolf or something.
Yeah, it's like stops you from digging for a round or something on that specific place. Yeah.
So there's lots of little intricacies as to why I liked the game, but it's mainly because it was unique. It's the first time I've played something like that.
Yeah.
It caught my attention very quickly, and while it looks like it could have been a very complex game, and I appreciate you are obviously the one that learned the rules, but I didn't find like it was a particularly difficult game to understand.
No, it's it was literally just the whole thing with the artifacts, because I think we mucked up on that, wasn't it? We could actually do these so many times around if we had this and that, and it was the realization to find out the last 2 rounds of the game or something, wasn't it? So,
exactly.
But like I said, you do it for every time you play a game first at the end of the day, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, so like I said, we can go back and
the thing about mistakes like that though is it didn't change the game that much because none of us knew it.
Yeah,
it means
absolutely.
that no one was disadvantaged by it. It's like, we could have been doing this. Oh well.
Absolutely. And I think we did that with White Castle as well. There was a couple of things where we thought, well, we can't get this resource. Oh, actually, you can. It's this way. So again, it's just learning and go back to it.
Yeah.
And very quickly, the second one I played quite recently, actually, was a copy from the guys at Legends of Podcasting.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a Harry Potter game called Harry Potter and the Death Eaters Unmasked.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that.
I don't know if you've heard of it. It's essentially Avalon, but with Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And it's so good, dude. I mean, I have gone off social deduction games for a while because I when I started this hobby, it was like the thing I was playing all the time. The social deduction games, every time was that. And I kind of went for him for a while, and then this one sort of just come back to it. I like obviously the theme of it being Harry, the Harry Potter universe. The quests aren't quests there; it's like an encounter, and you need a certain amount of players, and you need a certain amount of cards from these players, and it's whether you trust them or not, if they're a Death Eater or not. It's just really good. You get your own little wand and everything as well, and it's active when it's your turn and everything.
Nice.
So it's really cool, and I think something you guys might like, because I know you're a big fan of Harry Potter as well.
I do. Yeah, I do like me some Harry Potter.
Yeah, I had to put it out there because it was one that stood out as, I still really do like social deduction games.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, it seems like the theme this month is Wizards.
Yes.
It's 2 games. Blimey.
Yeah.
Are you okay? You finished?
Yeah, sorry, you go. You go.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to very quickly mention a couple of other games. Obviously, Ice was going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Terrascape was going to be another. That
Of course,
was a massive standout to me, but you guys will have known that because the episode came out last week.
Yeah, we did the review, yeah.
So I don't need to talk about that one. The final game I was going to talk about is a game that I introduced you guys to last night. Another playtesting game is Bad Trevor.
Yes, of course.
One of the worst named games, I think, in history.
I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
So very, very quickly, Bad Trevor is like a comic book style thing.
Yeah.
Where it's a deck of cards that are dealt out amongst the amount of players that there are. And the objective of the game is to clear your hand, get rid of all the cards. So basically, everyone will win bar one person. And yeah, Bad Trevor is like the ultimate bad guy. If you ever draw Bad Trevor, or so, you have to pick up a whole hand of stuff. So very, very quickly on your turn, I would say to Anthony is to my right. I can play 3 cards face down in front of him. He has to pick one of those cards. If he picks those cards up, if it's a blue or a red, you read out the text that's on them and do whatever it says on the card. If it's a green card, it's a civilian card, it just gets added to your hand. If it is Trevor, you have to pick up the entire thing. Nothing is particularly good in the game. So there's a little bit of take that element to it. And a little bit of strategy, because if you get a couple of the green cards, you can do extra actions, like reversing the order of play. Like, I know that James has got Bad Trevor, and he's sat right next to me, so I want to reverse the play so that it won't come to me, and so on and so forth. But yeah, the idea is get rid of your hand, and you win, but you're not like the ultimate victor, because everyone who gets rid of their hand wins the game, and the only person who loses is the person who is left
with
at
Bad
the
Trevor.
end. Usually, in fact, it will always be with Bad Trevor. James, that was you last night. You fell victim.
It was because I incorrectly guessed with the Kamikaze Kevin card.
You did, yes. Which is like, I'm calling your bluff and saying that is Bad Trevor there, and if you flip it over, if he's wrong, he gains all of my cards and I'm out of the game, or if he's right, I gain all of his cards and he's out of the game.
Yep, I had a 50-50 chance and I picked the wrong card.
You did indeed. Great fun.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah. It was good. It was. I had to get my head around the green cards thing because they could do more than one ability in that game. So I had to wrap my head around that a bit. But no, I really enjoyed it because no matter who was giving me the 3 cards, yourself or James, I was nervous as hell, man. Because I was like, I know someone had specifically had Bad Trevor, but I was still like, even when James was giving me cards, I'm like, I don't want this, I don't want a bad card still, because everyone does some sort of like.
There was a point yesterday, and it's the crowning glory when it's you that's playing this hand. So I played 3 cards to you. One of them was Bad Trevor. One of them was a hero card which said you had to pick up another card from the thing.
I had that one as well.
And then the third one was, if you pick it up, you have to take Bad Trevor from someone else. So so there was no way that you would have got away with not having Bad Trevor that turn.
Exactly.
And it's just
That's well played though, isn't it?
I'd literally got those cards in my hand at the time. I was like, I can't not play this because it's the only way I'm going to get rid of it.
There you go. That's the game, mate.
So there you go. Great fun. Bad Trevor, it's another game. I believe by the time this episode comes out, it's actually going on crowdfunding in about a week.
Oh, nice.
Again, that's not us pushing it or
It's a
anything
good game
like
though.
that.
Quick, short, easy to learn. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, full disclaimer, I have learnt this from the designer because he's another local designer, and he has now given me a prototype copy of the game.
Nice.
But he doesn't know that we're going to be talking about it.
Oh,
He just
okay.
wanted. I just said I wanted to introduce it to you guys, so he let me.
Oh, nice.
He let me do that. So
Sweet.
there you go.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That is Bad Trevor. Any other games you guys want to mention that stood out to you this month?
I can't remember.
I was to say you've already done two, which was Terrascape, which didn't need to mention because the episode's already come out, and
Exactly.
Bad Trevor would have been the other one.
Nice. Perfect. Cool. Right. We're going to rapidly move on. I say rapidly. It's 40 minutes into the episode so far. So we're going to rapidly move on to the main event, which is, of course, the news from this past month. So are you ready, guys?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okie dokie. So there's a few stories that I've got written down today. Well, I'm interested to see your reactions to some of these. I know Ant knows some of them, but we're going to have a little discussion about these news things. So the first story is the one that I think is going to make our resident film junkie Ant-Man's ears prick up, which is, of course, the official announcement that they are going to be making a Monopoly board game movie. And it's...
No!
yeah, unfortunately so. I believe it is spearheaded by Margot Robbie, who is said to be that driving force behind the movie with her production company. I think it's Lucky Chap. Obviously, the partnership between Lucky Chap
What is she
and...
going to be in it, though?
I don't know. I don't know if she's going to star in it, but obviously being her company, she's probably going to. But yeah, obviously it's drawn a little bit of attention because obviously this was announced by Lionsgate Motion Picture Group during the 2024 CinemaCon in Las Vegas. And they told the attendees that Robbie and her company expressed, quote, a clear point of view on how they would translate what was once a playable satire of landlords and is now... Oh, I'm not even sure I can read this. And is now one of the most popular board games in the world. I mean, that's a questionable statement straight away, isn't it, really? But yeah, a couple more little bits of quotation here before we discuss it. I could not imagine a better production team for this beloved and iconic brand.
Does it say if it's live action or animated?
It is going to be live action.
Okay. I honestly don't. But then again, they are doing Minecraft the movie somehow
Yeah,
as well.
I was going to say, going on to that, they've also mentioned they are an exceptional producers who choose their projects with great thought and care. We are tremendously excited to be working with the entire Lucky Chap team and what we will all believe to be their next big blockbuster. So, what do we think is going to go well, or will it be one of those? To do a proper dad quote here, is this film going to go straight to jail, not passing, go?
Oh, I can't believe you did that.
One, you've mentioned the banned M word on the podcast. You've broken your golden rule.
Oh, this is the one problem we do.
I mean, I don't think I'll be rushing to see this.
I mean, I won't.
To be honest,
Look, when they announced Battleship, it's like, yeah, I can see where you're going to go with this. It's like,
yeah, you can make a movie of that.
You can make a movie out of Battleship because it's basically just a Navy film.
I mean, excluding the fact that I know someone at this table actually thought that film was all right. That film was utter guff.
What, Battleships? It's good, dude.
It was awful.
It's good.
It's
entertaining. Leave your brain at the door and enjoy.
It's entertaining. It's complete and utter.
I like the director Peter Berg as well, by the way. So
suspend all your disbelief. But yeah, all right, it does. But the point is like, I can see how you can make a film out of that game. When they announced Barbie, which is in the same sort of vein, all right, it's a toy. I can probably see how you're going to make a film out of that. Monopoly?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for board games getting more popular, i.e. with films and TV shows and stuff. Whatnot.
I just don't know how it's going to translate into a film.
No.
I mean, the Dungeons & Dragons film, fantastic. Yep. Entertaining as hell. Really enjoyed it. Just make another one of that. Don't go to do Monopoly for crying out loud.
But again, it's like, Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, that is literally a game of imagination. It's very easy to make a film out of those things. Yeah, Monopoly, it's like...
It's just going to be a movie about rent.
It's
you owe me money.
At this point, is it just like, are they just going to like have a camera crew follow someone around?
I really
live?
don't know what they're going to do with this.
I don't see how that translates to film.
And what edition of Monopoly will it be?
Well, who knows?
Because isn't the original all London areas, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So will it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Will it be in London and stuff? I don't know.
Oh, I hope not.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really not sure where I stand on this. I don't see it transitioning, but I'm all for, trying to promote the hobby a bit more. But I kind of look at it and go, right, Monopoly is not the game that anyone's really going to care about from this hobby, but it does lead me on to the question of, because it's Lionsgate, and Lionsgate were obviously the company that purchased Hasbro's entertainment division, which means they now have access to a whole catalogue of board game IP.
Hero Quest the movie.
Stuff
that
like
needs
that.
to be done right.
That's the question. Are we going to see more board game
I'd like
adaptations?
to. Yeah, I'd like to. I'd like to see them.
So on those grounds.
But as long as they make, like I said, full credit if they manage to pull this off, but I have no idea how you're pulling a movie idea out of a game that's about rent.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine Operation the movie? Or Pop-Up Pirate the movie? Yeah. Come on now.
But the thing is, we're all sitting here actually in agreement going, yeah, I would love to see a Hero Quest movie. That would make sense. But for that to happen, we need this to be a success.
No. We need Battleship 2. That's what we need.
I was literally about to say, I was like, it's the company that's taken over Hasbro. Why not do? So they've already done that.
Yeah.
All they need to do is reenact the scene in Batman Forever with Two-Face and Riddler playing Battleship. A14.
You hit my destroyer.
You sunk my battleship.
So yeah, what thumbs up, thumbs down for the Monopoly movie?
Down.
We're not interested in that one. But there you go. News nonetheless. So the next bit of news that I've highlighted here was actually one that Mr. Ant-Man himself highlighted to me, and that is, of course, that Cool Mini or Not, Simon Games, or Come On, or whatever the hell you want to call them nowadays, are doing it again, as they have officially announced they're diving back into the United game system, but this time they're going a bit dark, because they've introduced the DC universe into... Well, it's DC United, isn't it, really?
Yep, DC United.
So we're all fans of Marvel United here, right?
Yeah.
We all really enjoyed that game. What do we think about that? How do we feel about DC getting their own version?
It was inevitable, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Ever since they announced DE ceased.
Yes. Yeah, as soon as you knew they had the DC license.
Yeah, then you thought it was a matter of time, really, wasn't it? To be honest, James. It's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that Deceased... which is, of course, the DC version of Marvel Zombies.
Yes.
Or the DC version of Zombicide.
Yep.
That game actually brings up a question in my mind when I'm looking at the DC United game. Because obviously one of the key things that people wanted from Deceased was to be able to cross the DC universe and the Marvel miniatures from Marvel Zombies. Yep. And I don't believe you can.
In the Zombicide version?
I don't believe you can, no.
I don't think you can.
I've not played it, but it's obviously something that people wanted. So are they going to keep with that same formula with this and not allow you to do a crossover?
I think that'd be cool if they could mix it up with this. I mean, it'd be cool.
I mean, I'd be annoyed if I found out this was true, but I can't help but wonder if that's a stipulation.
From either side.
It'd be silly not to mix it up, because then that stops people buying even more.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to rebuy my Marvel United because it mixes with my DC stuff, then they're missing out on that, really, aren't they?
Yeah, but like I said, it's like if it's beyond Simon's control, if the licensing basically turn around and go, yeah, we'll give it to you, but
we don't want it compatible.
Yeah.
With
okay, I get you.
Competition and all that. And, it's entirely possible that is true. DC have never been too open about their license being used in conjunction where Marvel's already been done, and we also know that Marvel is owned by the House of Mouse.
Yeah, which is absolutely ridiculous, because there are several comic runs of Marvel versus DC.
Back when they all got on, yeah. But obviously, longs have they since finished those things. But I hope that there is some kind of crossover between it. But I guess my main question really when it comes to this, because it's not it's not out yet. It's coming crowdfunding in July, I believe it is. So there's
still a while away. Yeah,
it's still a while away. There's going to be some more news and stuff about it. But one question I want answered really is: are we just retheming Marvel United, or are we going to continue that evolution of the United system, which we got within the Marvel system? It evolved every time they released a new one.
Yeah, I mean, it will be a carbon copy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you
you took the question right out of my mouth there, and it's like, unfortunately, I think this is one of my primary fears with IP-based games when they do this. It's like, same game, you've just slapped a different IP on it.
And pretty much what James says, it's like, it'll be the same with Marvel. If there's specific characters you want, you need to buy it from that specific box, that specific expansion or stretch goal. And it will be a retheme. But I am interested to see what the playmat will look like, how different that will be. Because when they revamped it for the X-Men one, it was like a completely different color, like a gorgeous yellow,
it was
gold.
Beautiful, wasn't
fantastic. So I'll be intrigued to see what the playmat looks like.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing for me is I want to see some evolution in the game system itself. Like, the latest edition of Marvel United is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, the original one was good.
Yeah.
But my God, as they evolved it, with the X-Men one and I believe the multiverse one that's coming out.
Still coming, yeah.
It's so evolved from that first game. It's night and day. So my hope is that we'll see another evolution and a continued evolution going forward. But I guess time will tell. Call me or not, don't usually just retheme games to my knowledge. But
it's only just an announcement. We've still got loads to come, haven't we? So, yeah.
That was all very, very recent, so not much information on that. So the next story I want to talk about, and this one, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit, I must be honest. But so one of the big three TCG games is, of course, Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, none of us here play it. Just for context, so we don't know much about the game system itself.
Know of it, never played.
However, we don't need to for this for this bit of news, because Konami, who are the parent company of Yu-Gi-Oh!, stunned and aggravated fans a couple of weeks ago as they announced that non-Japanese players are to be banned from competing in the Japanese tournaments.
What?
Even if they reside in the country. The ruling comes from a longer list of Konami sanctioned overhauls of the Yu-Gi-Oh's 2024 competitive season. Among some fairly standard clarifications is this short note, which when translated reads, quote, eligibility to participate is limited to those who are Japanese nationals and have an address in Japan at the time of advance reservation for the shop qualifying round and on the day of participation. This means competitive players of the system wishing to gain entry into the 2024 Yu-Gi-Oh! Japan Championship qualifiers may not be able to attend if they do not fall in the, let's be honest, fairly strict and very narrow guidelines of acceptance. Now, the reason this is news for me, and the reason this is hitting me hard, is we constantly preach about acceptance and you know how much of a community this hobby has, and that to me hits really hard because it actually comes off as quite discriminative.
Absolutely.
To people who aren't of Japanese descendants.
Yeah, part of me wants to turn around the butt though and dig a little deeper into that and go, okay, this seems like on the face value seems to be, as you said, all that you said plus a little bit self-destructive. Why? What is the reason?
Yeah. So this is purely speculation on my part. I feel that the potential reason is obviously it is a Japanese descendant game, so it's Japanese based, and much like Pokemon, a lot of players will go all over the world to be able to play in the native country where it came from. So my guessing is it's something to do with that. And I think that ties in with the other bit of information that I will say, in fairness to them, the winner of the championships in Japan actually goes on to represent Japan at the World Championships.
Okay, that kind of makes sense.
So that could play into it, I guess.
I was
that they want someone who's actually Japanese to represent.
It's not as... So it's not saying you have to be Japanese. The standout thing to there was you have to be a Japanese national, which means you basically have to be a Japanese citizen. It's not saying you have to be Japanese. It's saying you have to be a Japanese citizen. And the flip side to this is if we count it like most sports, if you're like, as you've said with that extra thing, it's like you're representing Japan. Well, to play in the English football, English national team football, you have to be an English national.
Yes.
And that's not even a UK national. You have to be an English national.
See, that's the thing. And I will pick up very quickly because there's actually two parts where it's actually a little bit of contradicting information, which is one of the things I pointed out when I was talking to a few people about this. They actually specify non-Japanese as one form of description.
Yep.
And then non-Japanese nationals.
Yeah.
So obviously non-Japanese nationals means you just have to live there. Whereas the very first one is very specific that you have to be Japanese.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's bad translation.
One would hope so. One would definitely hope so.
If they've come out and clarified it as non-Japanese nationals, that just sounds to be like an initial translation error. That's not what it sounds like. Because it basically makes me wonder if, like you said, you get a lot of people going over there, and it basically, because of the amount of, for lack of a better word, tourist players, you're actually freezing out the locals.
Yeah.
Because tournaments only have so much space in it. And if you're getting all these people coming from overseas to try and compete in this tournament, it's like, well, are you freezing out the local scene effectively? And like I said, it all plays into that thing of like, if you're then going on to the World Championships representing Japan, well, like any other sport, if you're representing a country, you have to be a national of that country.
Yeah.
That's standard across the world.
Yeah, I mean, that side of it definitely makes sense to me. But obviously, it is very difficult because obviously the wording is, in my eyes, I guess there is a translation potential issue.
Yeah.
But obviously the key outrage has come from non-Japanese descendants living in Japan who have regularly competed previously and are now, being told by their local game stores that due to these new rules, they can't. Yeah. So if it is I would say maybe it's not a translation issue because they will be dealing with it in the native language. However, this was, a few weeks ago, and as of today, I did double check. They haven't rectified that.
Yeah, I mean,
those people still aren't able to get involved in those tournaments.
You'll have people who live there but are not citizens effectively. Yes. So unfortunately, if that's the ruling they've decided, that's the rule they've decided.
Yeah. But obviously the other key thing, and this is one of the other things that's causing the outrage, is these rules are only being introduced in Japan.
Yeah.
They're not going to be rolled out across the world. So America, they could hold these championships and the Japanese could happily fly over and take part and win and go on to represent America.
Yeah, that seems a bit silly because if one country's being strict about it, why can't the rest do it?
I think that's kind of.
But then are you going.
One rule for one rule for another.
Yeah, but is that one of those situations again where they've gone, well, we're introducing this, but we're not forcing everyone to. It's basically each territory is make your own mind. If you want to enforce this, cool. If you don't, cool.
I think when it comes to that personally, and I'm looking at other companies that do this kind of stuff and competitions and things like that. Usually you'll see a rule that's installed in the native land, and then once it's, all the kinks are ironed out, then you see that rule go widespread.
Yeah.
I think that's what we're seeing here. This is a new rule, new rules that they're installing in the native land. Once they've figured it all out, and by the sounds of it, there's a few kinks that need to be ironed out.
Yeah.
Or a few clarifications that need to be made. Once they've done that, we will probably start seeing that worldwide rollout, across the world, believe it or not. But, the initial thing, do you think people have a good reason to be a bit outraged by it, or do you think this is just a little bit of smoke and mirrors, really?
I mean, the biggest thing I think the group that might be affected by it is, off the top of my head, okay, so there's a lot of US forces personnel in Japan who are not, they might be hobbyists, they might have lived there for years, but they're not Japanese citizens.
Of course, they're not nationals.
And their families who have moved out there with them to their posting, it's sort of like they're not nationals, so that would immediately exclude them from any tournament like this.
Yeah, that's fair. And what's your thoughts?
No, I mean, it's just, it's not fair that they're strict about it, but no other country is going to be. But how strict is a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament now? I mean, I'm not familiar with it as much, but I believe that if one country does it, all the others should, because then how do you plead the part of being fair?
Yeah, so, agreed. I think I would definitely agree with that. I guess interesting to see where this goes. I can understand why people are a bit up in arms about it, because it is not particularly accepting or anything like that. And, no stereotyping, but Japan isn't exactly known as the most accepting everything. So
that's the other side of it.
Yeah. So, just another thing that people can hold against Japan. I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to get involved in that. But it is news. It did hit me a little bit hard. But I'm hoping this is just a case of it's stage one of a rollout. I think that's where it needs to go in order to make it fair on everyone. I want to talk about one more bit of news.
Yeah.
And that is, again, based on another game system that we're not particularly involved in, but I think it is big news because I think it's great for the tabletop hobby. And that is, of course, when I say Dungeons and Dragons, we all talk about, a lot of people, it's their entry into the tabletop hobby, right? It wasn't mine, but I know more than enough people. Like Simon of Board Stupid, he came into this hobby through Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, especially as all males here, when we grew up, one of our favourite toys was, of course, Lego.
Mm-hmm.
And the
still
build,
is.
Still is, yeah, indeed. And of course, now, as of I think it was last week, it was officially released. In fact, we now have the very first Dungeons and Dragons Lego set.
Nice.
Now, I showed you guys a picture of it before we went live. I mean, how beautiful is that thing?
I've seen it in person.
I mean, you've seen it in person,
but it is amazing.
It's a beautiful set. It's a beautiful set.
I wish I knew a lot about Dungeons & Dragons to actually purchase it.
Yeah.
And I probably would have done. But
I mean, you kind of need to know a little bit because it ain't a cheap set. I mean, it's, I don't know what it is in the UK, but in the States, it's retailing at $350, which doesn't sound a lot when you're talking about Lego, really. But it's... So obviously including it is there is a sizable dragon. But what stands out to me most about this and why I really thought it was quite good news is it is D&D. It's drawing more attention to D&D, which is always good. But more importantly, when you purchase the set, you actually get some one-shot campaigns that can be used with the Lego set to actually play the game.
That's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So now that's really cool. And from what I understand, they're also going to be doing regular free updates where you can download more one-shot campaigns in order to play.
Now that's
more.
how you get people to play stuff like this.
Yeah,
not a frigging Monopoly movie.
Yep.
Something you can build and put towards your own scenario or something, you know?
And the thing is, I love the idea of the D&D thing because there's such a universe in D&D. Though the possibilities are endless in Lego. And you see people, the Lego collectors, they've got cities laid out. Imagine a solely D&D themed one that all of it was playable with the characters that come in it and all the dragons and stuff that you can move, the rooms that you can access and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. So for me, I look at it and go, you've got the D&D fan base that are going to love this. You've got the Lego fan base that are going to love this. That's 2 sales runs straight away.
Yeah.
And now you've created this amazing hybrid between the two that are going to love it.
Yeah. Haven't they made it for its anniversary or something?
Yeah, because it's the 50th anniversary for D&D this year. But more, I just look at it and go, all of those Lego fans who may have never played a tabletop game are now going to have the ability to do it because they love Lego so much. They'll build it and then be like, oh, what's this? Oh my God, I can...
I'm not going to lie. If I had that set, I probably would try D&D. I think I could put stuff towards it like that.
I think I would.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a small thing. It's not a foot and a half, 2 foot tall. It's massive. Really, really good. Obviously, it is quite costly. It's Lego. What do you expect?
But well done, Lego, for doing it. I never saw that coming, personally, before they announced it, obviously.
No. I think it's one of the best sets they've probably come out with in years. But what do you guys think for the crossover aspect?
Oh, I love it. I love the idea of it.
Yeah?
I hope there's more, in honesty, to be honest.
Yeah, I reckon there will be, because it's obviously...
Not just D&D, but obviously they can get other stuff in, maybe. I don't know.
Amazing, wouldn't it? So
There
who
you go,
knows?
exactly. I know he's got a few little hidden secrets in there if you're familiar with D&D as well inside the set. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the fact they put a 20 die in there as well is pretty freaking cool.
And I believe for anyone who buys it for a limited time, I believe they give you a Lego deck box as well.
Oh, nice.
Or dice
How cool
box
is
or
that?
something like that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's all right.
So I think it's a great thing.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah. It can only be good for the hobby, right?
Kudos to Lego for doing it.
Any more eyes on the hobby, I think it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Sure. That's it. That's all I was going to mention.
Nice, mate.
There was a few that nearly made the cut, but I just didn't have the time to do the research to get it on there. And one of them I will mention very quickly because this might interest you.
Oh.
There is a new Halo tabletop miniatures game coming out, and it's from Mantic Games, who have a pretty good record of exceptionally good games. But yeah, so there is basically a Halo version of Warhammer coming out.
I need to get a new credit card.
I did see that obviously Cyberpunk, the video game, has now got a board game adaptation.
Yeah, well, Simon's already got one, haven't they?
They have,
And there's
yes.
one that's done by the guys that actually did the recent Witcher.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's them. Yeah. So, I
there's-
mean,
there's a lot of board game digital game adaptations coming.
I mean, it's good. I mean, people that like the games, look at us with Fallout Shelter and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's interesting. I will be interested to see how well they transition.
does it not make you want to go back and play video games? Just to like try it out or anything?
No.
No? Intriguing.
No. If I have spare money, it's not to buy a new console
That's
or
true.
a digital
No, that's
game.
true.
It buys a new board game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, last bit of news for the show, guys. You guys have finally got the BG Stats app.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You're finally
Courtesy of
logging your
Meeple
plays.
Minded themselves, thank you.
How have you found it? Honestly.
It took me a while to wrap my head around it, but yeah, it's okay. It's nice to put my collection on there, remind me what I do actually have and stuff, whatnot.
Yeah.
I like my picture I put of you on there.
Yes. Yeah.
But what about you, James?
Yeah, like you said, it took me a couple of logs to actually get my head around the interface, but once I got it, it's handy.
Nice and simple, yeah.
Yep.
Now, you will have witnessed it last night, Ant.
What's that?
When James came in after we'd played a game and he was already on his phone trying to log the play.
Yeah.
Before me.
Do you know what? I mean, I still forget I have the app, and until one of you guys dig your phone out and start logging, I'm like, oh, yeah, I've actually got that as well now.
But no, James was logging a game before I was. I think James is... he's hooked already.
But I was playing with the guys from Leisure Podcast a few days ago, and then one of them even had BGG stats. So I was like, oh, if you're doing it, well, I'm going to do it then.
One thing you're failing to take into account, Jason, is if I don't log it straight away, I won't log it because I'll immediately forget what the score was.
Yes. Yeah, this is very true.
That's it.
Yeah. It is. I do sometimes forget. There's definitely plays that I've not done myself, but missing one here and there doesn't affect my stats too much. But one thing that I will point out, James, is we actually sat down and went through my BG Stats app the other day, did we not?
We did.
Yes, and
Here we go.
One thing you always say to me is that I win lots of games, and my winning percentage is in fact very, very high. James, how many % below me were you at winning?
Yeah, but I've only logged like 4.
No. But I log your plays on my app. How much percentage were you below me?
Not that far.
Was it 2%, James?
It might have been.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
And how low was Ant below that?
Way low.
5%.
Was I?
Lower than that.
Nah, get out.
So,
95, you mean?
take your I always win and jog on. And on that note...
But in all fairness, we don't know if he actually logs it as a win, though. I mean, he could be just like, oh, I lost it, but I'm going to mark it as win.
No, I do. I log it all properly. And I have the evidence. So...
Well, good for you then, sir.
Exactly. And that being said, now that I have made my point, in fact, twice in this episode I've made my point, till next week, I have been Jason.
And I've been James.
And I've been Ant.
And you have been listening to the Meeple Minded podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.